Hey peeps, Tyler here with a book review for Discovering the New Faces of Neurodiversity, Unmasking Autism. I technically said that backwards. But by Devon Price. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. I'm going to read the synopsis. For every visibly autistic person you meet, there are countless masked autistic people who pass as neurotypical. Masking is a common coping mechanism in which autistic people hide their identifiably autistic traits in order to fit in with societal norms, adopting a superficial personality at the expense of their mental health. This can include suppressing harmless stims, papering over communication challenges by presenting as unassuming and mild-mannered, and forcing themselves into situations that cause severe anxiety, also they aren't seen as needy or odd. Can you say my entire life? And I didn't even know I'm autistic until my 30s, but that's what happens when you grow up autistic and you don't know it. Or even if you do, I'm just saying. In Unmasking Autism, Dr. Devon Price shares his personal experience with masking and blends history, social science research, prescriptions, and personal profiles to tell a story of neurodivergence that has thus far been dominated by those on the outside looking in. For Dr. Price and many others, autism is a deep source of uniqueness and beauty. Unfortunately, living in a neurotypical world means it could also be a source of incredible alienation and pain. Most masked autistic individuals struggle for decades before discovering who they truly are. They are also more likely to be marginalized in terms of race, gender, sexual orientation, class, and other factors, which contributes to their suffering and invisibility. Dr. Price lays the groundwork for unmasking and offers exercises that encourage self-expression, including celebrating special interests, cultivating autistic relationships, reframing autistic stereotypes, and rediscovering your values. It's time to honor the needs, diversity, and unique strengths of autistic people so that they no longer have to mask, and it's time for greater public acceptance and accommodation of difference. In embracing neurodiversity, we can all reap the rewards of nonconformity and learn to live authentically, autistic and neurotypical people alike. And that last sentence reminded me of, in this book, there's several places where it talks about how a lot of the things that autistic people need also help neurotypical people. So, like, literally making the world more safe and accessible for autistic people will actually help everybody. So there's that. But anyway, I think that said somewhere it's written, oh, I don't know about the trans part, but it's written by an autistic trans social psychologist. I'm autistic and trans. I'm not a social psychologist. But, so this, I don't even know where to start, but you can see I have a whole ton of tabs. Because I freaking love this thing. There's so much to it. I took my time with it. Growing up for over 30 years as autistic without knowing, but also being born physically disabled in multiple ways, because I was born with factoral association. So I always knew I was disabled physically, but I didn't know the neurodiverse part. And then at 13, I realized I was queer, sort of. I thought I was a bisexual girl. Turns out I'm a straight trans man, but that's a whole other story that I've already went into in other videos. But I'll see if I can remember to link them in the description. But so growing up, I felt very, very weird in ways that some I knew the physical issues I had, but I also knew there was stuff I was missing. Stuff that I could not figure out, the whole social aspect, how to make friends, how to be normal, quote-unquote normal, and I always felt like an alien growing up. And I didn't realize that all my work that I've realized it before reading this book, but like, only since realizing I'm autistic a little over 3 years ago, and I'm 35 now. Growing up, I did not realize that what I was doing was called masking. Trying to be normal, and the more I learn about autism, the more I think I'm actually not very good at masking sometimes. Sometimes I'm a little too good and don't even realize I'm doing it. but I guess that's probably just being autistic. So this goes into what masking looks like, stuff that I haven't even realized, and stuff that I did, how we might decide to unmask, and I'll get into that, what we need to do as a society to make it a safe place for people to live unmasked. It goes into all of that in so much detail, and it's intersectional. It includes aspects of, like, it talks about aspects of racism, poverty, transphobia, physical disabilities, on top of being autistic, and more. It's very intersectional, and I freaking loved that as well, which talks about how not everybody can unmask. Even if they wanted to. I mean, they can unmask if, if it was a safe world to do so, but it's not. And it's not even a 100 or 0% of the time either. It's not all or nothing necessarily. You can be unmasked in certain situations, like say if you're by yourself or with close friends that accept you for who you are, but then you go out in public and now you can't unmask because you don't know what the hell's going to happen if you do. But it talks about how some people, because maybe they're an autistic person of color or some other reason, there's so many reasons, that they just can't unmask like somebody, like an autistic person with more privilege could. But again, it's incredibly nuanced, and it talks about that. I can't do that I can't even do that period, let alone in one short review video. So I did want to go through this. There's one part in here that lists like some common healthy autistic behaviors, and I saw myself in every single one. So yes, common healthy autistic behaviors. Intense studying of a new favorite topic. I constantly want to do this. I constantly just want to hyperfocus. And you know what I do instead? I stop myself from doing that. I try to be normal. I try to be neurotypical. I don't let myself have special interest or hyperfocus. As much as I possibly can avoid it, anyway. And it drives me insane. And I don't know why I do it. Other than, to some degree, it's because I'm addicted to YouTube. Which I need to stop. But also, here I am. I'm addicted to watching YouTube. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm filming this on July 4th, and I live in New Jersey, United States. So if you hear fireworks, I apologize. So, yeah, because there's so many things that I would just love to, like, hyper-focus on. But no, I have to watch all these YouTube videos. I have to keep up with this and that and this and... No, I don't. There's things I have to do. You know, like sleep and take care of my medical issues and pets and, life. I don't have to watch all these YouTube videos and keep up with all this shit and go insane trying to keep up with neurotypical people. Why do I do that to myself? And that's a healthy autistic behavior, to just study something you love. Obviously, you might have to occasionally remind the autistic person to, go to the bathroom, or take a drink, or eat something. But being so into something you love, I mean, that's how a lot of autistic people end up in their careers. Not always. It doesn't have to lead to a career. I want to make that clear. It's okay to have a special interest that has no monetary value to it whatsoever, and that needs to be okay. Because there's nothing wrong with that. But some autistic people end up loving something that leads them to a career, and then they end up experts in their career. But even if they don't do that and they don't get any money, like, what's wrong with joy and having joy in the world? This world is way too money focused. Anyway, continuing on, not noticing sounds or social signals when focusing on an engrossing task, which goes into the, I'm assuming, goes into the intense studying of a new favorite topic, the hyperfocus. That gets annoying, because I constantly get startled. I'm very easily startled. But yet I also love horror movies and books and games and shit. That's fine, but somehow I get easily startled in real life. But that's probably why. Needing to know exactly what to expect before entering an unfamiliar situation. I have so many different things. Like, I have medical issues that I need to know about, among other shit that I now realize involves autism, and it's just... I don't even know how to go into that. But, like, it's okay to have needs, and it's okay to have needs. Everybody has needs. I don't think I'm saying that right at all, but it's true. Sticking to a very rigid schedule and rejecting deviations to that schedule. Taking a long time to think before responding to a complex question. That one drives me nuts. I have my whole entire life just noticed that I'm slower than most people, even though I know I'm not dumb. I've often thought that I must be dumb somehow because I can take forever to process shit. So my whole life has been faking it, like I know what the hell is going on when I really don't. And I am so tired of being confused all the time. Can I just have a minute or two to fucking process shit? Without everybody just going off and thinking, well, obviously you're just a dumb idiot for daring to take more than 5 seconds to fucking respond. No, I'm autistic, you ableist jackass. Nobody said that, though, because I've spent my entire life just either faking it or being ignored by people and hiding in a corner or something. But I've also noticed, with like tests and studies and whatnot, often the people who are, not always, but often the people who are slower to process shit, like on tests and whatnot, tend to get more correct answers. Being slow doesn't mean you're, like, slow to process doesn't mean you're dumb. And I'm talking to old me as well as anybody who needs to hear that. Because old me really needed to hear that. Me now still needs to hear it. Being slow to process shit does not mean you're dumb. I mean, yeah, there are people who are really smart and really fast at processing shit, but I'm pretty sure they're in the minority. Dear God, do you have supercomputer for brains? I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just like, how? But most people aren't like that. And even if you're way slower than other people to process stuff, it does not mean you're dumb. And I really need to get that through my head. Spending hours or days alone sleeping and recharging after a socially demanding event or stressful project. Everybody needs rest. And if you need more rest than others because you're disabled, okay? For some reason, our society is just all about go, 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 fast, 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 productive, 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 and it's like, that's not healthy or sane. Take a break. Needing all the information before coming to a decision, and it has all the information in quotation marks. Not knowing how they feel or needing a few days to figure out how they feel about something. I think I'm only now beginning to realize that I don't always know how I'm feeling, which is very annoying. But I guess it's okay. I mean, needing a few days sometimes to figure out how you feel about something, that goes back into the processing thing that I was just talking about. Needing a rule or instruction to make sense before they can follow it. I see this so much said by other autistic people, and myself as well. It's... asking questions is not a challenge. I just want to understand. We ask so we can understand. Asking questions to understand is not a challenge. Stop acting like autistic kids asking questions to understand stuff. It's a challenge. They're not challenging you. They just want to understand. That's all it is. Are you neurotypical people okay with just not understanding anything? I am so confused about that. Like, do y'all just go around not understanding anything or any of the rules, or do you just not even think about why the rules are the way they are? I don't understand that. All I want to do is understand why a rule exists or why it is the way it is. It's not that I'm not going to follow it or anything. I just want to understand it. Like, why? That's not a challenge. Why is not a challenge. It really isn't. I really want neurotypical people to get that through their heads. And the last one, not putting energy toward expectations that seem unfair or arbitrary, such as wearing makeup or elaborate grooming. So yeah. Like, hygiene's important, but why is all that other stuff important? So yeah, I don't mean there's anything wrong with it. If you want to do that stuff, that's fine. It's, you know, a lot of autistic people, like myself, is like, why? Like, we understand hygiene, but why everything else? But yeah, I absolutely loved this book. There's so much to it. And even though it is very much targeted towards autistic people, absolutely anybody, I think, can get something out of this, can learn about autistic people and masking and unmasking. So if you're autistic, if you think you might be autistic and you're not sure, or if you just want to learn about autism, or maybe you have an autistic person you love, or whatever, I highly recommend this book. They're basically everybody. So, it's very accessible. It seems very accessible to me. I didn't have any trouble with it. I just freaking loved it. So, did not think I could talk this long about the book, because I'm like, I have no script. I don't know what I'm going to say about this book, other than I wanted to look at that page. So I didn't know how much of a review this would be, but that's my review. Highly recommend it. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to be notified of when I post new videos. I post mostly stuff about writing and reading, but other stuff as well. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.